These are the Beyerdynamic DT 990 Pro X open back headphones, not to be confused with the DT 900 Pro X, which I actually recently took a look at and I quite liked it. I had a couple of little problems with the DT 900 Pro X, not the 990. One, I felt like the weight, they were too heavy. They kind of didn't sag on my head, but I could feel the weight and it ended up causing some discomfort after a couple hours of use. I also found the sound a little bit boring at times. It was a mostly warm sound signature and it sounds good and it's very relaxed. But I also took a look at the Sennheiser HD560S and that has a little bit more pop, a little bit more air in the treble. It's crisper. I kind of like the sound signature of the 560S a little bit more. The problem with that one is super uncomfortable. The clamp forces, I thought, was worse than the 900 Pro X. So then we get to the 990 Pro X. I wanted to check this out because I love the Beyerdynamic build quality. That was something I was kind of missing after returning the 900 Pro X. It was just such a well-built headphone and it felt great in the hand, felt pretty great on the head except for the weight. I didn't find the clamp force too strong. So I wanted to check these out because it sounded like these were a little bit less boring than the 900 Pro X. At least according to the frequency response graphs, these have less bass, but a lot more treble than the 900 Pro X. And the mid-range looked good, so I figured I'd try them out. And after trying these out after the 900 Pro X, I actually think these are better, at least in my use case. Let me explain why. One is the comfort. I find these more comfortable. I feel like the ear pads are slightly bigger than the 900 Pro X. I just feel like my ear has a little bit more room, and obviously this will be subjective, but that's just how I felt. I will say the 900 Pro X has better pads. I feel like the foam is better on those, a little bit softer. These are a little bit more firm, but I do like the material. It's similar. It's similar to the 900 Pro X. The other difference I noticed is that the clamp force is a little less on this one and it weighs less, and that contributes squarely to comfort. I also like the headband more on this one. It has a little indent here on top, and the padding is good. I also really like this leather wrapped headband. What surprised me a little bit is that these also are more open. They're more open back. The 900 Pro X are more of like a semi-open, and I think that's why it has a little bit more bass along with the tuning choices that Beyerdynamic made. But you could hear more of your surroundings with these. So that might be something that you like or dislike, so there's something to keep in mind. You only get one cable on these, and I wish this cable is just way too long. I think this is the 3-meter cable. The 900 Pro X comes with the 3-meter and the 1.8 meter, which is just better in my opinion. This one's too long, but I like the mini XLR connection and no problems with these. They're super easy to drive, just like the 900 Pro X. I've just been using this Anchor USB-C, the 3.5 millimeter dongle, and it's been perfectly fine. I can also plug these into a PlayStation 5 controller and I have no issues whatsoever. They get super loud. One cost-cutting measure they took from the 900 Pro X is the bag. The bag sucks. This is like a terrible quality. It will protect it from scratches, minor scratches, but the 900 Pro X had like a thicker material, and it was just better. But that's why these cost a little bit less. So getting on the sound, I've already said that I find these more comfortable than the 900 Pro X, and I also find the sound better, at least to my ears. So even though the frequency response graphs have the 900 Pro X as having more bass quantity, I feel like the bass on the 990 Pro X is more impactful. Even though it reads as not having much bass at all, I feel the bass. I feel the bass more than the 900 Pro X and even more than the HD 560S that I tried. It is a little bit of a dry bass, but it can be surprisingly punchy. Especially if it's like a single bass note. I found them to be more than adequate in the bass department, which kind of surprised me because everyone was kind of talking like they have no bass. I disagree. I kind of felt the bass is slightly impactful. It depends on the song. even on some reggaeton songs, I found it to be enough. Like, I do wish there was a little bit more punch. I do wish it was a little bit more bassy, but that's not the tuning that Beyerdynamic was going with. And I'm totally fine with it because the overall sound signature is really good. I would say it's not as warm as the DT900 Pro X, but it's not overly cold either. I found it to be warm enough, and I like how engaging it is because of that extra sparkle in the treble. It does get sparkly. It can be sibilant, but I noticed that the sibilance comes in when you're playing music at higher volumes. And I felt it more with female vocals more than male vocals. It can happen with male vocals as well, but I noticed it more on female vocals. So it's like right on the border of being sibilant on certain tracks. And I think this is going to come down to your personal preference and if you're sensitive to sibilance. I've always been kind of sensitive to sibilance, but I don't know, lately, I don't know if my hearing has gotten worse, I'm just getting older, but I really haven't had too many issues with sibilance with the past few headphones that I've tried. The HD560S apparently is kind of harsh and abrasive. I didn't find that to be the case at all. They say that also about the 990 Pro X in some reviews. I don't find that to be the case. I feel like it's right on the edge of being sibilant, but it's almost perfect, at least in the highs. The mid-range is super natural. The voices sound really, really natural on this, and I like the soundstage as well. It's not overly wide, but you do feel it kind of out of your head. You can feel the instruments around you, and it's good. It's good. Like, I'm really impressed with these headphones. I find them to be more engaging than the 900 Pro X. I find them to be more comfortable than the 900 Pro X. And I wish the price point was still $200. These initially, when they came out, they were $200. And then Beyerdynamic bumped up the price to $230. If these were around like $180, $200, I think they're a full recommend. Like, I really like them. Unless you're overly sensitive to sibilance, I think these might be maybe too much for you. It depends obviously on the track and the game that you're playing, but for music and gaming, I really like these. I love how easy they are to drive. I find them really comfortable. The build quality is fantastic. And yeah, they get a recommend from me, especially if you can EQ these and put a little bit more bass and warmth into them. I think you have a complete winner on your hands, just because I find the build quality and the comfort to be really good. Even though the clamp force can be a little much, I did find myself almost getting a headache, but I think it'll loosen up over time, and it's not as clampy as some of the other headphones that I've tried out, including the 560S and even the 900 Pro X. That'll do it for my final thoughts. If you check this out, let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you guys in the next one.